Hello again, welcome back to the channel. Today's video is going to be all about my sales career. In sales, you live and die by your numbers. So if your numbers are good, you're obviously better. If your numbers are shit, then there's no point in you listening to me at all. So I'm going to give you a deep dive into all of my sales jobs, the numbers, the role that I had. So then you can actually see it's almost like a credibility pitch, I guess, because if at the end of the day and one day I want to have a sales team or a sales training course, then realistically you shouldn't be doing it if you don't think I'm good at sales. So I'm going to tell you everything I've done. I'm going to give you the lessons that I've learned along the way, the highs and the lows and everything else in between. But before we get there, I always end up doing this at the end of the video instead of the start. So if you're here right now, press the subscribe button, like it, comment, share it, whatever you do one of them. I'd prefer if you subscribe because I think it's better metrics. I don't actually know because it's unmonetized, but I'm getting too off topic. Do it now, subscribe, please, thank you, love you lots. Okay, so sales career started off, my whole life had been primarily in water sports, tuition, balloon modeling, construction. I had quite a varied career until I was up until maybe 21, 22, worked on super yachts, run water sports beaches, worked in a bar in Val d'Isere, done all this other stuff. And then by the time I got to Mexico, I thought I was with a good friend of mine, probably my best friend. And we were sat at a bar and we had two options. Option one was go and work for a sales team, a timeshare track. And if you don't know what a timeshare is like a fractional or part ownership of a vacation home or a hotel. So if you've got 200 rooms in a hotel, maybe like the top 20% of those rooms will be blocked out for the timeshare owners because it's like an extra perk. If you pay for your timeshare, which you end up buying in bulk ahead of time to freeze the price, then you'll get the upgraded rooms, the upgraded service and all this other stuff added on. So there was that choice. My aunt, uncle and this woman who, our next door neighbor, Linda, she was like, you can come work for me, you can come work for me. They're always hiring people, especially in Mexico. You've got two British guys who are young, good looking. It's like these guys would sell, regardless of their experience, you can train them. Or we go and work for my other friend, Jose Juan, who's been a good friend of mine for 13, 14 years when I first went to Mexico, and he has an ATV and cenote tour company. So the scene was set. Both good options. Personally, I just had my wrist operated on and I wasn't exactly that keen. Well, it was still fucked. It's not great now, but it was fucked then. And I didn't exactly want to be sitting on ATVs all day with the vibrations running through, messing it up. So we kind of sacked off that idea because that's all we'd ever done. And all I'd ever done was more sporty based stuff. And I thought, you know what? The time is now to do some sales. So we went for the sales role. The first sales role we went to was like the craziest setup ever. We didn't last there very long at all. It was a bit too Wolf of Wall Street, but a bit too corny. Everyone was like, there was some Joel Osteen, like Jesus Christ stuff playing in the background. There was a lot of weird shit going on, and it was like pre-development as well. So you were selling a dream, selling an idea. It wasn't actually a hotel. So we maybe, a couple of days there. It made me take out my nose ring, which annoyed me a little bit. But the crux of it was we liked what was going on, but we just didn't like the team as much, the manager. So I spoke to my uncle. He was like, cool, I'll get you in at Sandos. Also, my auntie used to work there as well. So it was like the perfect storm. So we went there and got indoctrinated, spent maybe 2 to 4 weeks training before we could even start. Got ourselves suited and booted, and then boom, off we go. Second tour I sold, and it was $27,900, which was kind of not unheard of, but like not common. So I remember it very clearly. I can't actually remember his name, but a guy and his family, they came. He was a Frenchman living in Vegas. He had a wife and a daughter, and from the get-go I just knew that this guy didn't like me. I've only got 90 minutes or 120 minutes to sell these people, and I was like, this guy does not like me. So what I can do is make sure that I kind of like show him up, because I know with the French and the English, like there's a bit of weirdness about it. So I'm like, all I have to do is be civil, be smart, be nice, and I'll have him done. Like, he just needs to be not disrespected, but he needs to know that like, you can't fuck with me. Like, if you want to fuck with me, I'll fuck with you. So instantly when we got to breakfast, I'm not really I don't chat about the product really. I chat about the people. I'm more of a people person than a product pusher. So we go to breakfast and I pull the chair out for his wife and his daughter, and then push it in as they sit down. He's like, why are you doing that? I was like, well, out of us two, I'm the only person who's going to do it. You're not likely to do it, are you? And it was like a nice instant bam. It was like, fuck you. His wife and his daughter started creasing, and I knew I had him from that point. Anyway, so that was 27,900. I can't remember the commissions, but like the higher you got in the line and the higher your numbers were, the more commissions you got. Obviously, with the timeshare tours, not obviously, but you only do 1 per day. You do max 2 per day if you're, I was going to say lucky, but realistically, you only want to do 1 per day because it's draining. It is tough work. It's tiring. You're putting on this full act, and it's a real energy drainer. So to get a big, almost $30,000 deal from the get-go was unreal. I had my uncle. He came in close because I was a liner. I did the tours. So you might just call it lead gen, but really I've done all the work. I've primed them up. I've given them some information. I've got them ready. I've made them, the most important thing, I've made them trust me and trust the whole program and trust everything that's going on. Also, because my uncle was the sales director, it was the perfect play because I could just say, like, my uncle is the sales director. So even if you do want to buy it, which you probably don't, because face it, you're just here for the freebies. Even if this is to me to like give an offhand approach to be like, I know you're not going to buy it, like you don't need this, to make them seem like it doesn't bother me if they're going to buy it or not. All the while I'm building the value, like dropping fucking huge numbers, like, how much you spend on your vacations. We spend 10k a year, so in 30 years it's gonna be 300k. Okay, cool, so that's a lot of cash. So realistically, if you could book your vacations in for half the amount, 150k for the next 30 years, it would be a 50% saving, right? Yeah, that's without inflation, right? Yeah. So you're already planting these massive numbers in their head, and every guys of his family thinks he's going to be this business tycoon, business don, especially if they are business people, so it works perfectly. Then with that, I remember when we got to the table, my uncle sits down, and I'm like, I'll go, okay guys, remember I said about my uncle? So if you're going to get the best deal of the day, it's going to be with him because you've come through me. So bam, information, confirmation. They know that what I've said is true. They know he's actually my uncle, and then he sits down, and also it gives like a playhouse to the game. They're like, okay, what's going to go on here? So for a lot of these deals in Mexico, I wouldn't directly close them. I was a tool to the closer. Realistically, to go front to back straight away is unheard of. Like, you don't do that unless you come in from another timeshare track or you're just a magician. But for me, I knew that those managers were perfect. I knew that I could use them and lean on them, and I could make them be a pawn or this character that's in my narrative that just adds credibility. So like, if I come up with a story and I lean on the manager, then it comes back. Or what I can do is then focus myself and position myself to be with them, or to make the manager, the closer, seem more of like a not a negative figure, but like a person that we're battling against. Like, everyone wants to feel like they've won, they've got a deal, they've made the most of it, they've got the absolute best deal they possibly can. So if you position that person, sometimes I'd twist my chair to sit next to them. I'll be like, okay guys, just before you sit down, like, say for example it's Mike, I'm like, Mike, just before you sit down, we don't want to hear any bullshit. We don't want to hear this is your final price. We don't want to hear any of that. We've got our credit card out on the table, and this is what we want to do. This is what we want to pay now. This is the credit we want to do, and this is the term amount. You do something like that, you set the scene, and then I'm like, guys, am I right? Is this what we're willing to do? You give it. Mike obviously takes it. He's like, okay, cool. Well, I'm going to have to go speak to someone about this. Comes back, and he says, sorry, this is ridiculous, we can't do it. One part of the deal will change. Say it's like it goes from a 0%, which we've asked for, and it goes to a 2%. So I speak with my guys, tell Mike to go away. So this is me I'm still closing them on what the offer is, but I'm just using someone else as a pawn. And then from there, what a lot of the time I do is be like, okay guys, it's getting on now. I've been here for a while, you've been here for a while. Let's just get this done so you can go back to your vacation, you can get a free upgrade, and I can go home. Is that all right? Okay, I reckon, unless you guys are really desperate to buy this, you say, if it isn't 0%, I'm walking out right now. Put the credit card on the table, get the pen next to it, and then we'll say the deal is done. Because in my mind, I know they can do 0%. I know Mike's just come back to make it seem like it's not too good a deal. And I know when Mike comes back, I'm going to say, you're going to have to go either talk to Orlando, the manager, or you're going to have to go get Neil, my uncle, who's the director. I'd lean on that a lot. I'd lean on this like authority play a lot, that I could get anything, that I could windle and wangle my way into all of these things, especially because I'm in Mexico, I'm a Brit, and apparently my uncle's the director. It's like there's this weird sense of authority. So once I'm there, Mike comes back, bam, sorry, we're not going to do anything unless it's 0%. Mike says, like, you're taking the piss. And he's a great actor, he's always in on this sort of stuff, and it is Playhouse at the end of the day, and he just really delves into why it can't be done, how I'm taking the piss, how you said why are you always doing this, like you're losing us money, like this is a business, like kind of like just because your fucking uncle's a director doesn't mean you can just like pull out any deal you want. And I'm sat there, I'm like, well, they want to buy, you want to sell, I'm just trying to get them the best deal because they spend the day with me, I kind of like them, we've had breakfast, and like at the end of the day, Mike, like you just want commission. Really, like, what, you're gonna lose a few $100s because I'm getting them a good deal, like, sort throw them a bone. So yeah, anyway, I'm getting a bit off topic, but like that would be the sort of method that I would always use. Good cop, bad cop, good cop, bad cop, information, confirmation, story. The more made up the story, the better. Like a lot of the times, I'm not going to go into storytelling because this should be another video, but long story short is about, on average, we'd sell around $100,000 per month of timeshare deals. Average deal was about 10,500. The exit program, which is the bare minimum, is about 4,000. That's if someone basically hasn't seen the value, doesn't trust you, or they can't afford it. I basically sold none of those because for me, if someone was going to buy, they were going to fucking buy because they trusted me, they knew I was credible, and they liked the product and they could afford it. But on the other hand, I was like up and down, I was like a spring tired again. So if they couldn't purchase it or they didn't like me, then I wouldn't get a deal at all. Like I wasn't in the business of just getting a fucking deal just to make sure I could get some money in. I'm like, if you can't tick all of my boxes, then I don't want you. Like I'm not going to waste my time trying to sell something to you when I can go spend my time with more qualified people over here. That would mean that I would get big deals. Within a few months I got the biggest deal of the year, which was 54,500. Kind of crazy. Again though, I didn't close this directly on my own because you have these people to use, you have the managers to use. It was Mike and I, and we closed it together. And again, it all comes from the setup, like how you set something up. Like if someone goes, like say I've got these remote closing interviews later, they're going to say, okay, tell me about how you handle these objections. I'm like, honestly, a lot of the time I don't get too many objections I can't handle because at the start I frame it in a certain way, which is, this is what I'm going to do, this is why we're here, this is what I need you to do, and what you're not going to do is this. What I'm going to do is this, bam. So when we get to the end, you're going to give me a yes or a no. It's like, yes, I want to change my life, or no, I want to keep doing what I'm doing. There's no, I can't afford it, I need to talk to someone, I need to do all this bullshit, because if you get to that point, then I haven't done my job properly and you're just lying to me. I'm coming with honesty and transparency, and I expect you to do the same. Otherwise you're wasting my time and I'm not here to waste yours. I set it up very frank, very business, very fucking prim and proper. So by the end of the fucking pitch, by the end of the position, it's like, if you're not going to buy, I know why you're not going to buy. And if you do buy, it's because you fucking want it. It's not because I've manipulated you, it's I set things up. So realistically, when you get big objection handles, it's, what is an objection handle? Answer me that. An objection handle is literally just a throwaway reflex objection because someone doesn't trust you. That's it. Like, that's it. People will fucking bet millions of dollars just because they fucking heard that someone's going to win on a horse race. Realistically, that's usually greed. But like in this sort of scenario, it's like, if you trust the person, you'll do it. Anyway, that's what I always delve into. So around $100,000 a month. We're there about 10 months the first time. Obviously there was some high highs and some low lows. Some months were more, some months were less. But yeah, overall it was around $100,000 per month. Then after that, I moved back to England, did recruitment. I should go really into what I learned from the Mexican timeshare business, but really it taught me that people buy from people, pattern interrupts are key. What you really need to do is like really change the scenario. If stuff isn't going your way, change something. My thing would be I'd fall off my chair, or in the tour I'd go walk in the sea with them. So we'd walk into the sales room with sandy feet. Or if a push was coming to shove and it wasn't good, I'd go for a cigarette with one of the husband or the wife. Anything to change the dynamic, change the scenario, change the energy. Because there's always a way. And also just be honest. don't be beggy and come in fresh every day. Having a trigger is also good. So like an anchor song, I'd always play Congratulations by Post Malone when I sold. So like bam, 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 bam. So now it's one of my favorite songs because I know it's an anchor for when I do well. Okay, next thing, recruitment. Did recruitment for maybe a year, sucked at it, not going to go into it too much. I wasn't very good at managing software developers. I don't care about them, they don't care about me. Didn't go that well. What I learned from that was I might as well focus on business development as opposed to people trafficking, which I consider recruitment to be. Anyways, after that, COVID happened, then I did door-to-door lead generation. A friend of mine, he was doing door-to-door for a company, and then we set up our own company doing lead gen for all home improvements. This was only lead gen, so it was actually really easy because everyone was at home. It was literally just go to their house, book an appointment, salesperson goes next day. The sale is out of your hands, but you get paid per point. But like we were making 10 or 15 meetings per week, working for ourselves, probably about £1,500 a week, easy money in COVID, bam, done. Next sales experience, then I went from there, I went to Bali, then I was doing full front to back closing for a friend of mine who had a social media marketing business. We didn't do it for that long because the juice wasn't really worth the squeeze, because not many people were keen to develop much in COVID, and also I was running out of money and I wanted to come home. But we made 4 or 5 deals. Then coming back to England, I then got a job with Halfords for a bit and kind of like rewrote the sales process a little bit for that. As you know, I didn't rewrite the sales process, but I just helped with it. I don't know if I'm really adding too much credibility here with what I'm saying because I've had so many sales jobs, but for me it's always been like go somewhere, sell a little bit, find out about the product, and then I'm always wanting to move country, so I end up moving and go. Then moved to Mexico. Didn't do too much sales, helped run an Airbnb arbitrage business. Then I worked into my aunt's business, set up some big meetings with some big hotel owners. I don't actually know how those went because I ended up coming back to England because I got a bit fucking depressed after that. Then when I came back to England, worked for Lead Forensics, did that for over a year. SDR team, managed that. So a lot of my tuition and sales skills went into that. Then from there, a lot of the SDR management role, we were doing like around 50 to 80k a month in booked appointments. Then I moved into an AE. I didn't stay there for long, but I booked one meeting, sat one meeting, sold that meeting. It was like 10 G's. From there, then I came out to, no, then I had my own business. We probably, well, it's your own business, you got to do sales, but it wasn't like a direct sales floor as it would seem. Then when I came out to Bali, met the guys at Anti. They had fuck all business on, so I brought them in loads of business. We did 30k in the first month. I closed most of that. Ash, the primary founder, closed the agency on that because I didn't have the knowledge or the skill set on e-commerce design, landing page to do that. So Ash was the best person for that, which was nice. And then that became a recurring revenue stream for the business at 25k per month, so it puts it about 300k. So I reckon in total I've sold around $1 million in total. And yeah, obviously if you're doing real estate you would have sold much more, but I think you'd be hard pushed to find anyone who's had such a varied realm of experience. So I've worked in timeshare sales, social media sales, digital marketing, landing pages, home improvements, and I've done phone sales cold, I've done face-to-face tours, I've done door-to-door lead gen, and I'm about to do remote closing. So realistically, as a whole, I feel very well equipped to bring people in, to teach them, to develop them, and to find them jobs in the future. What's sort of like in my mind right now is when I want to build this sales course and build this sales team, is that I want to be closing or doing at least a few calls a week to make sure that I'm still fresh. What I would do when I was at Lead Forensics is every now and then I'd just go on the phones, because as a manager you got to lead by example. If you're not hitting the phones, then you're really not doing anything. Happened to me at Lead Forensics, a prime example. This is why I know that I'm very qualified, is because I can basically perform whenever I need to when it comes to sales, because I don't know why, but people just can't not trust me with that sort of thing. Just too honest and too fucking straight cut. Even if the product isn't that great, they just like me, and then the rest is done. So I remember there was a guy, Will Racher, he was like, Connor, you never on the phones, this data's shit, like you can say that the data's fine, but really you don't do anything, blah 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 blah, giving it stacks. I was like, all right, well, find me the worst bit of data you've had all day, I'm going to call it, I'm going to book it, and it will sell. So he gives me this bit of data, I do a few minutes of looking, I'm having a little scan around his electronics business online. It looked fucking whack, but you never judge a book by its cover. So I called it, spoke to the lady on the other end of the phone. She was like the sales manager, not a qualified person to speak to. Turns out she was actually like the number 2 to the business owner. She made all of the business decisions on new tech and new software. But you wouldn't have known that if you'd have just guessed and you hadn't have called. So literally called her, made her laugh, booked her in. We did a straight over, so I booked a sit. So I literally went from me straight to the salesperson that moment, bam, straight to stocks. Then within like a week or two, she'd bought. I was like, okay, fucking hell, let's fucking go. So in terms of actual sales skill, I know I've got the talk, I know I've got the pattern, I know that people trust me, and that's what you need. Everyone, like I said before, you've got this internal checklist of things that they need to purchase something from you. Obviously, they need the money. They have to have the need and the want, but like at the end of the day, like I'm never going to buy something from someone I don't trust and I don't like. Doesn't make sense. Not like, it's just like that's like a red flag for being a red flag for anyone. So I know that I've sort of ran through that a little bit, and I didn't go through too many lessons about what I learned and what I didn't learn, but I want to keep these videos about 20 minutes long. So that's just a quick run through of my sales resume. What I will do is another video is go through a little bit more about what I've learned about psychology, what I've learned about just like people in general from working in sales. But if you've got this far, thank you very much. Love you, miss you, kiss you. Appreciate the love. And yeah, that's a little bit more about my sales career. You can have a look on my LinkedIn. It's got all my numbers and experience on there, and it looks way more credible. Okay, cool. Have a great day. Bye for now. Ciao.